Looking at what empathy is and what it isn't. Empathy isn't just about feeling sorry for people. It is being able to recognize their emotional state, the things, their experiences, things they're going through, and so on, but not necessarily letting it overwhelm us. There is something about empathy that can have us feeling a little vulnerable. When we recognize someone else's pain and we're connecting with them, we're connecting with their pain, we are connecting with part of us that knows what that pain is. We have been through something similar, or we've been through the same thing. We know what that pain is. First of all, there's cognitive empathy, and that's just being able to recognize on a cognitive level, on an intellectual level, the social cues, understand other people's emotions from maybe the looks on their faces, from their behavior, their body language, and so on. Affective empathy, sometimes just emotional empathy, is us being able to recognize and mirror the emotions and the feelings of others, which can help us create healthy bonds with people. We can feel happy when other people are feeling happy. Whenever they're feeling good about something, we can feel good for them. When something awful happens and you see they're distraught, well, we can feel sad with them. The combination of the two would be like a somatic empathy. And this is when we can recognize what someone might be feeling. We might be feeling something similar. We might be feeling it with them. But if they're in some kind of distress, well, then we want to respond helpfully. Okay. We want to offer support, advice, whatever that might look like. Different levels of empathy would be on a low level. Okay, and that's just maybe recognizing the look on someone's face. Okay. We can see that they're happy, they're angry, confused, they're sad, whatever it is. Mid-level empathy is when we can identify, but even share emotions. And that could be someone shares some terrible news with you, something that's really shocking, and we react emotionally. Okay, so that's that mid level emotional resonance. High level empathy. I think a good way to describe that would be whenever we're able to steel man another person's position on something. Like we could be arguing about something, recognizing what it is they think, why they think it, what their experiences are, and so on. But again, we're not necessarily agreeing with them. We're just showing that we understand maybe why something is important to them. Some people consider empathy to be a weakness because it can be exploited by manipulative kind of people. Some people might think that it's just about being nice, being caring. But again, there is much more to it than that. It involves us being able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, being able to imagine how things are for them, being able to grasp their perspective. And when we understand people, when we are empathizing with them and we're trying to imagine what their perspective's like on any particular point, it doesn't necessarily mean we're agreeing that they're right and we must be wrong. The concept of empathy being a strength, again, some people might think it's a weakness because it is something that has maybe been exploited in them. I often say that without boundaries, empathy is a good thing to have, but without boundaries, sometimes it can be destructive. Sometimes it can be a little self-destructive. But in different situations, it can be a very helpful, useful thing to have. It could be a very powerful thing to have. For instance, in our relationships, our personal relationships, our romantic relationships, friendships, things like that, it can help build trust. It can help foster intimacy and things like that. Our empathy can help other people feel heard and feel valued. Our empathy, again, if we're showing that we understand another person's position, it can help reduce conflict because we're not going to be screaming our own position at each other. It helps us to maybe anticipate needs and things like that. It shows that we care. In workplaces, empathy can be very useful. Again, if you're a manager or just a team member or whatever, empathy can help motivate the people around you. It can help motivate the staff that work with you. It can help improve morale. It can encourage and drive things like innovation. It can also help in things like negotiation. Again, there could be conflict between people in the workplace, different departments and things like that. It helps, as I say, with negotiation. It can help us to read things like unspoken cues. And as I mentioned a moment ago, anticipating needs and things like that. We're not necessarily agreeing with someone. We're not necessarily telling them that they're right and we were wrong the whole time. But when we validate another person's position, their feelings, that can help de-escalate tension. It can help promote compromise. And compromise isn't just one person giving in. It can help on both sides. If the other person feels heard and listened to, even not necessarily agreed with, but heard and listened to, they might be more open to compromise. So again, we don't necessarily see that polarization. On a personal level, our empathy can help with our growth and our resilience. It helps us to learn from our own experiences, but even other people's experiences as well. Something didn't work out for them, we'll know not to do that or to do it differently. It can help broaden our worldview. It can help reduce things like our biases. It can help us explore our own belief systems and help other people explore theirs. It can also help with things like our self compassion because we recognize that, yeah, maybe we need a day off once in a while. Maybe no isn't a bad word. On another level, our empathy can be our intuition. It's not that we're mind readers, but we might get a sense that someone is lying to us. Maybe they're up to no good. We might get a sense that we're being manipulated. We're not necessarily jumping to a conclusion. We're not just labeling someone. That intuition, as I say, it can help inform us. It can help us to maybe observe more, to be able to pick up on other cues. Our empathy as well helps us to recognize, again, coming from other people's behavior, we recognize stuff in ourselves that we can influence without manipulating. The other person might be trying to manipulate. We're not doing that. Maybe we're just going to shut down the conversation. Maybe we're going to withdraw, whatever it is. We're not going to engage in a rigged game. So when it comes to us trying to convince, we recognize we can influence without manipulating. We can try to convince rather than coerce. Because our empathy, again, it can be our introspection, it's our ability to self-reflect, to learn about ourselves and to grow as much as trying to learn about other people. We can use our empathy to adapt our approaches to things. Sometimes we maybe have to be firm, we have to be assertive. Other times, as I say, we can be more convincing. We can help to influence. We can show things. We can show that we have an understanding of a situation. So we can adjust our words, our approach, our behavior. We can address underlying concerns. We can do things like this before things become maybe a firm boundary, before maybe we have to be very boundary. We have to be rigid. We have to be firm. But as I said earlier on, without boundaries, it can be self-destructive. That's when we can be exploited. We get led to believe maybe no is a bad word. We can be taken advantage of. We can be led to believe, again, narcissistic people are very good at playing the victim. We can be led to believe that we really have hurt them by saying no, by not giving them what they want. But what we can recognize is when we get that balance, we get that compassion, we get that empathy, that insight and things like that. But also with boundaries, what we have is balance. And we're going to avoid things like emotional exhaustion, fatigue. We're going to prevent things like the exploitation that often comes up with some people. In a lot of situations, we say no. Some people might not like our no, but they certainly respect it. Without the boundaries, what we might find ourselves doing is finding ourselves in empathy overload, okay? We're constantly absorbing other people, their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences, even the world around us. And we can end up feeling depleted. We might feel fatigued. We might even get irritable. Sometimes we end up feeling numb. It's just, we're just been in a heightened emotional state for so long, we end up feeling numb. That is not a sign of weakness. It's rather a sign that you have just reached your capacity. If you're saying no to someone, again, the other person might not like it, but you might not be saying no forever. You're just saying no to this at this time because you don't have the time, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the resources. You need that rest.